guys, welcome to another episode of Think Out Cloud, a cloud-based talk show about cloud computing. All right, so I'm Nino Van Monte, and today we're going to talk about HR. I mean, every company has an HR, right? So it's very important that we know exactly what the pain points are, what it is that make them tick, what it is that makes them work, and it's important for us to share that in that knowledge and in that pain as well, and for us to understand basically what it takes for an HR organization within a company to move and flow freely and move like a well-oiled machine. Okay, so to talk about this, our guests today are from Creative Web Solutions. Now we have our President and CEO, Mr. Matthew Roman. Hi, Matt.
Hi,
Welcome to the show.
happy to be here.
All right.
Hi.
Yes.
Thanks for having us.
We also have Mr. Kenneth Tahanlangit, the Vice President for Solutions. Hi. Thank you for having me. Yes, great to have you guys here. And of course, our sensational co-host, TCU.
We're glad to have here our partner Creative here to talk about many challenges that HR is facing, and through HCM solutions, we can solve those pain points. And by the way, let me remind our audience that if they have some questions, please find the question box located to the right side of your screens. We'll answer those questions towards the latter part of the show.
Great. Okay. Yeah. So let's start. So Matt, thank you for being here again, and for the benefit of the viewers, I mean, you've been in this business for quite some time. Please,
7 years.
yeah, 7 years. Wow. Just let us know exactly what Creative is all about and what it does, what your core business.
So, Creative Web Solutions, first and foremost, is, I guess in the simplest terms, we are an IT automations company. So, we help companies make more money by employing automation. Now, our approach to automation is actually we're sort of like an augmented IT department. So we go inside and we do enterprise best practices like gap analysis, and we employ standards like Six Sigma, ITIL, or ISO aligned approaches. And then we help companies not only just automate, but also apply best practices. The difference with us is we are sort of like we have this small business roots, but we apply enterprise best practice. So we like to think of ourselves as a small business champion. We love working with small businesses, and we understand the many challenges and issues a small businesses face. But that doesn't mean that small businesses cannot get enterprise class automation.
Right.
So we're here to bridge the gap between the two.
Oh, that's great. I mean, being I guess, a cloud advocate yourself,
Yes,
right? This is,
very much so.
yeah. I mean, it's important for us providers like this to empower the small businesses to be at par with the large companies as well.
Absolutely. Since we actually were one of the first, and we're happy to be with you guys back in 2009. We were one of the first people or companies who were really pushing cloud here in the Philippines. The first thing that's stopping a small business from being automated is hardware costs.
Of course,
Right? So cloud is the solution to that, and we're happy that over the past 7 years, cloud has really matured. And of course, more things are now available, and we're happy to be part of that.
All right. So let's help us understand some more about HR in particular. So being in the business of HR, what is it in terms of timekeeping and payroll, and in other HR tasks? What are the common pain points that you're seeing? Perhaps can you be able to articulate this?
Yeah. For HR, the most tedious job is for them to collect the BTR or time cards of our employees, because the payroll is based on that BTR. For employees, employee side applications of overtime, leaves, it is a manual process in a normal company. So this is being collated and approved by the manager, and then to be forwarded to
Most
HR.
of the time handwritten, right?
Yes, yes.
Effort
Yeah.
consuming.
Yeah.
It's a common misconception that people think that one of the most difficult parts of doing payroll is actually the part of doing payroll, but it's actually the time and attendance report
Right.
part.
Because payroll is just a computation based on the attendance report.
And that's where all the errors are.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Plus all of the non payroll related things like leaves and leavings, all of those deductions and SSS, payroll,
Yeah.
or other agency requirements.
It is a fixed computation.
Uh-huh. Okay. So, yeah, I mean,
That's a mouthful,
Yeah.
actually. Just talking about it gives us the glimpse of the enormity of the task actually just to run a single payroll. How does an HR application take away some of that thing?
From the start, the application gets the time and attendance where the employee times in, time out. And then if there is an overtime within the hours of this shift, the employee can apply for overtime.
Right.
At the same time, the employee has a dashboard wherein he can apply for leaves, cancellation if any, and then he can monitor his leave credits. As soon as it gets collated,
this is on mobile as well, right? Or,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's the self-service portal that we're actually one of the biggest things that's the employees can now monitor their time.
yeah.
We're empowering them to check on the things that are otherwise very tacky to our HR officer.
Yes, giving them the ownership of monitoring their time logs
Right.
and their less payroll business.
Uh-huh.
and then the manager can approve the application of the employee wherever he or she is.
At the beach.
Right.
Well, you can't file a leave, but they're already on leave.
And the manager applies well,
Yeah,
sifting
yeah,
coconuts.
yeah.
They checks whether this is needed or not.
I mean, providing more value for the HR head definitely. And I think as far as applying for leaves and things like that, it also eradicates like people going up to the HR head and asking how many leaves do I have
Yes,
left,
exactly.
right? I mean that I don't know how many times an HR person will receive that question in a day.
I'm guilty of that.
No leaves for you.
Oh no. I'm supposed to be away tomorrow.
I mean, I hope Zen Hours was able to alleviate
Yes, actually.
I can see that's a pain point. for you.
It is actually. Plus the fact that through the application you'll be able to track and see where the employee is or what happened to the employee, and having a visibility not just on the employee but also on the company itself, see where they are, how they are.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what do you think are I guess um, as a business owner, what kind of if I'm a small business, I know normally the owner is usually the HR head, right? For a small business. So have you based on your experience, how much time is I guess saved by a business owner in terms of having to focus on a lot of these HR stuff? I mean, out of I guess your experience in talking to these people, have any of them actually explained to you, like, oh, HR takes up like X% of my time, and I can focus on my core business, right?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Actually, when we started out, you can see and you can approach the savings in two ways. One would be, let's say, time, and of course the other one would be money. And you can approach it from a direct time and money savings to an indirect time and money savings. So when we started out, we were actually selling it from the perspective of how much time does your HR manager and your accounting team spend doing time and attendance reports and payroll, and we equated that to money, and then therefore here's your value. But what we've actually heard from our clients over the years is, after using it, they had the same mindset at the start, but what they gave us feedback on as to what they actually got out of a time and payroll automation, timekeeping payroll automation, is this. HR's primary job is to bridge management and workforce, right? It's their job. They are not a member of the workforce, and they are not a member of management. Right? So imagine what can be done when your HR has the time and energy to be able to focus on making sure your workforce and your management are more aligned. That your workforce is happier. And not just as an afterthought, right? Na, in Filipino terms, kinamusta ko yan. I know he's happy, I checked up on him. But having the time to actually do projects like Team Friday parties, team building activities, coaching, and all of these programs, training programs, when your HR has the time to be able to do that because she's not stressed with timekeeping and payroll.
The intangible benefits.
The intangible benefits. Now, some of our clients have said at the very pessimistic or conservative approach that they've gained 10% productivity out of their workforce. That's huge. If you have 100 people, that's like having 10 extra people working for your business without actually having to hire anybody. And this is something that you need anyway. So that is what we've heard from our clients, the benefit of timekeeping and payroll automation.
And I think HR apps are not just useful on large enterprises, but at the same time, they're useful to startups and SMEs who want to maximize the output of each employee. Because we offer the product to our clients, some say that they are in need of not just timekeeping and payroll, but of HRIS or HCM. Perhaps you can tell us what these are and what are the difference.
Of an HRIS versus an HCM?
Yes.
Yeah, well, there are the technical definitions, and then there would be the perceived colloquial definition.
I think what perceived definition is.
I think there are quite a few like timekeeping and payroll applications which are nowhere near what an HRIS is, right? And that's really just it. It's timekeeping and payroll. Right? But when you say HRIS, it's a whole other matter, and then there's also HCM. So give us some clarity with these terminologies, I guess.
Sure. Internationally speaking, and the technical definition of an HRIS or an HRMS or an HCM, they actually are the same. Human capital management system is the same as a human resource information system or a human resource management system.
It's all marketing.
It's actually a marketing term, but in the Philippines, it's not. Philippine companies perceive these things to be different because in the Philippines, when we started with automation, we did it easily. We did it. Let's do a biometrics machine and then let's automate timekeeping. And then let's get a payroll system. Let's automate payroll. And then I wanna convert into electronic format my 201 file, and then let's call that an HRIS system. So in the Philippines, we see them as three different things, and a suite of these things is what we call here as an HCM. HCM would be a suite of these three things.
So it's all encompassing. HCM is all encompassing.
Yes, and at least in the Philippines. When you go to Singapore or United States, it's a different terminology. But, that's how we understand it.
And I think this webcast is very important and useful to our audience because we're actually talking about very specific information that I don't think you can do a web search anywhere.
Right, yeah.
And talking about HIRS or HCM, do you think it will become mainstream anytime soon?
It will, because two factors. One is this is the trend. The trend is to automate. The trend is to be able to do more with less. So a lot of or a subset of the companies in terms of our small business market will definitely do this. Small business really understand that they have to squeeze every amount of workforce or productivity from the limited resources that they have. We being a small business, we understand that we're a small Filipino business. But it will definitely happen because it's so competitive already, and I don't think that companies who are not going to automate will be able to compete in the next few years or decade if they don't do automation. The time is now to actually adapt. You're no longer an early adopter. You're going to be joining the late majority actually. when you do that. So
I like that word, late majority.
Exactly, exactly. And the digitization of enterprises is fast taking over. And if you're not on that bandwagon, you're going to be left behind, for sure. And yeah, and I guess in any industry, competition is absolutely fierce nowadays. And if you're not able to focus on your core business and have to like worry about all these other
Right.
stuff and not automate them, then you'll definitely fall behind in the market, right?
Like you'd rather use your workforce doing what you really need to do, other than all of those backend stuff that take us on to time, those clerical things that we're better off doing more meaningful or functional task.
That's why it's called back office, right?
Yes.
It's supposed to be out in the back, and you're just not worrying about it, and just
Right.
know that it's working and everything's running smoothly.
Correct. So leave your back office into us.
Yeah, we got your back.
Yes.
We got your back.
That's nice.
All right. Okay. So yeah, definitely, it goes to show that there's a lot of importance has to be put on HR, and a solution such as human capital management is something that is definitely beneficial not only to HR but also, I mean, the entire company, the business owners and all the stakeholders as well. And that, yeah, the greatest resource is human resources, right?
absolutely.
Yeah, that's true. So I think at this point we can like take a look at any questions that the audience may have asked. Do you have any questions, audience? Okay. 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 So here's one. What are the costs involved in setting up an HCM solution? I guess that would depend on like what solution you're going to get. But now, I mean, what we push for is a subscription, right?
Right, yeah. Software as a subscription model. Always, especially from a small business perspective, is the cheapest because when you look at the total cost of ownership, you don't have to really have to upgrade a version 2 or a version 3. Somebody's always there to support you. Small business, you always need that.
Right. So the irony is some will use a software application for HR, but it actually defeats the purpose if they go on-premise because now they need to manage that on-premise equipment. So it actually loses out on the real objective of actually maximizing their employees.
Is this solution then ours or IPC PayCheck? Is this solution a modular thing? I mean, can you have like features like, or is it like an all-encompassing HCM, everything's there?
Well, we have a lot of clients who started out with timekeeping and payroll first, so, or even timekeeping alone, and then payroll. They did it phase by phase. So if you have budgetary constraints, we're very flexible. We can work in almost any type of budget because we can do it in phases. Obviously, if you have the capital, it's always cheaper to just deploy it from one go because you're going to have three deployment situations and you're going to be, adjusting your
it's more
HR
costly
costs.
than you might think, right?
Right. But it depends. Yeah, you can absolutely get just timekeeping, just payroll, just HRI. It's up to you.
Okay. Right. So other question: do we need to equip or re-equip our HR team if we make use of an HCM system? I guess does the HR team need to know anything new? I mean, do we need to train, or is it that easy that you don't need to train?
Actually, it's
people for
that easy. For as long as nowadays employees or people are very content-based. For as long as they can use Facebook,
You know how to
they
use
can navigate
this.
the
Really?
system. Yes.
Okay.
There will be a minor training because all in the functionality in the system can be accessed there, and then it's self-service.
Okay.
A significant part of the budget is spent for ratings analysis and user experience design. So we really try to make it so that even the non-techy can understand it. You can use space systems that use basic users.
Because the fear that we get from our HR personnel we talk to is that since they're not techie people, it might be a hindrance for them to really run the system. Thankfully, the system is very user friendly, intuitive. Plus, we have actually lined up some materials that you can use. You'll be guided with regards to navigation and configuration of your accounts.
I always say is we're the tech guys.
Right.
And if your vendor or your tech company requires you to be so techy just to understand the solution, you have to change your tech company. And because that's our job.
Right.
Our job is to be the techie, so you don't have to.
Right. Exactly. That's nice. Okay, most of our employees are contractuals. Will I need an HCM solution? I suppose so. I mean, it depends
Actually,
on how you use it. I mean,
if most of your employees are contractuals, then you absolutely need an HCM solution.
all the more.
Right? Because you have a lot of employee movement, a lot of turnover, changing employees a lot. With contractual employees, there's a lot of legal implications there. So you want to make sure if everything is perfect, everything's ironed out. And then HRIS solution, you make sure that it's
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And they can ask the agency where they got the contractors to use this application.
Yeah.
To their thing. So they get the contractors, the employers, they get total visibility, and not the agency asking for what's the timing and time out of the
Yeah. We have a lot of retail clients. We're a partner of the Philippine Retailers Association. And in retail, there's a lot of contractual situations out there, right? Quote unquote contractual. So in that setup, some of the workforce outsourcing or the manpower agencies, they do have that sharing aspect, so that the billing and the billing of the workforce or the manpower agency and the tracking of the customer, they're all integrated. There's no more back and forth.
Yeah. So they can get the reports using their own.
Yeah, they just share the same system. No more fighting.
No more double
Nice.
No more checking.
Breath of fresh air. Okay, so a question here from the public sector. I mean, the public sector, can we implement this in a government agency? I think there's specific requirement for government agencies. Is the IPC PayCheck solution able to address these as well?
No, we do work with some government agencies, local government units, and whatnot. So, definitely, it's not really a big change, except that in GSIS versus SSS, there's some nuances that are different. But in those cases, design hours is configurable and even customizable.
Right.
So any sort of arrangement or standard can be supplied.
That's what they think critical as well against international providers that's developed locally for Philippine considerations. Like it has a grace period.
Grace period. Is that something that is honored in other countries?
It was, design hours is
Truly Filipino.
a Filipino solution developed by a Filipino company. Is Filipino company. I'm Filipino. And
it doesn't get any better than that.
so we understand how Philippine businesses work.
Right.
We made sure that those nuances are built into the system. Like the grace period that you mentioned, most commonly requested, or the payslip Mises user account. So
yes.
it's the most requested functionality when we rolled out Zen Hours was the ability for the Mises to log into Zen Hours just to view the payslip.
There's no getting away.
I think I will need to disable that.
So, I mean,
I hope my wife's not watching.
Your luck is about to run out.
I was asking you not to say that, remember?
Okay. All right. So, question here: how long does a typical deployment take? How long does it take? I mean, does it matter like how many users there are, how many employees there are? Not really.
From our perspective, whether you have 2,000 employees or whether you have 10 employees, doesn't really matter to us from a employment perspective. Maybe there's a little bit more training, but it's usually really fast. And it takes time because the preparedness of the HR team and the accounting team is the one that's in question here. And
The completion of the template.
yeah, and while we're speaking in this Filipino culture, usually the clients that we get are the ones that are really small. They get the payroll system when it's a little bit too late. So
A little
it
bit
takes
too
a
late.
long time. So because they're already small, so some things are already organized,
okay.
and it takes so long. But for the organized client, 2 weeks we're deployed, or even less.
Right.
And then you have your acceptance period. So,
Plus, since this is cloud-based, that the hardware and configuration deployment is actually near to nothing because
yeah.
it's already ready. Then just
It takes kind of less than 60 seconds to provision an instance for you. So,
second.
then another 60 seconds to upload your data sheets. Right. Client having filled the data sheets, of course.
That's actually
That's another story.
another story. That's another story.
Maybe we could dedicate an episode just to
How to fill up the data sheets.
how to fill up the sheets.
Yeah, we can. Actually, we'll see if we can do that.
Like we get a question on head of the family that as of 2008 it's no longer supported.
Oh,
Some of our clients, their tax brackets are still on the old version, and we have to still tell them that we need to do the MU expenses.
Exactly. I think
Okay.
it's your expertise.
Yeah. I think you're trying to go around the system and
Yes.
not tell your wife what you're really earning.
I actually, my wife's watching. I think you need to book now.
Yeah. Okay. Last question here. How do you protect our company's data if we subscribe? I mean, care to
Yeah, sure.
elaborate?
Well, like I said, best practices are already applied for IPC and so best practices are applied in terms of security. It's the usual intrusion detection systems, like system encryption and whatnot. So, military standard technology in terms of security is actually applied. We host our data in Japan, co-located in the United States, and also we're on the PLD network. So you can't get any safer than that. It's always actually safer to give it to these data centers than to do it in-house.
Right.
In-house, just break in and steal your server and that's it, right?
Like in the case of IPC PayCheck, we have multiple layers of security that even us could not come get into those data centers. And then in terms of certification, we all have
Yes, ISO 27001 is information management security systems, and I guess other security measures that we've put in place. And one thing good about IPC PayCheck in particular is that it's locally hosted. So yeah, I mean the latency is good, and it addresses data sovereignty issues if it is an issue for some customers, some companies, and yeah, I mean data privacy and data protection is really a two-way street. It's not really dependent solely on the provider, but there's also a responsibility on the end of the user to make sure that the passwords are private and no one really gets access to, or the admin accounts and things like that.
Right.
So there's also that leg of security that's on the side of the user.
Right. Well, IPC PayCheck was built with security in mind from the ground up.
Yeah.
Security is not an afterthought. We build the application. Oh, let's think about security. Security was thought of from the architectural perspective, standpoint from day one. So application security, server security, network security, all of these things, they're already factored in.
You're in good hands.
Okay. Well, okay. So if there's no more questions, yeah. Okay. So Okay, before we end, I guess we'd like to invite you all to attend the 2016 Philippine Cloud Summit, which is going to happen at the SMX Convention Center in SM Aura Premier on June 29th, 2016. So,
And our guests from Creative are actually going to be speakers in the afternoon breakout session. So please do attend because it's going to be an actual workshop regarding HR timekeeping, generally software as a service, actually,
yeah.
and how our end users, you, the audience, can take advantage of these solutions. So it will actually maximize your business, like what was mentioned before. You can actually focus on the core business functions.
I think we only got to discuss or a limited amount of time, like
Yeah.
2%
Yeah.
of the value of what you can get as a company. You get timekeeping, payroll, and trials automation. So we'd be there to share more success stories from our clients.
Right. Plus, since it's an actual workshop, you can take what you learn from that workshop and use it to your actual business functions.
If you couldn't do that, then I already failed in the talk. I'll make sure that that's not
We are completely confident.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, that's all the time that we have right now. So please, if you have other questions, just go ahead and email salesteam@ipc.ph. If you have any inquiries about IPC PayCheck. Let me thank you again, Matt and Ken, for being here, and hopefully we'll do this again, definitely, and we'll talk more about the other features and benefits that HCM has to offer. Okay, so till then, see you next week, and thanks for watching. Bye.